but they may
Yes.
not succeed entirely.
All right. Meanwhile, Iran's foreign ministry has also reaffirmed that the country's right to enrich uranium is indisputable, while indicating the level of enrichment could be subject to negotiation. Spokesperson Ismail Baghaei has said Iran's right to the peaceful use of nuclear energy cannot be taken away under pressure or through war. He's also added, while the principle of uranium enrichment is non-negotiable, Tehran remains open to discussion on the scale and technical parameters, stating Iran should be allowed to continue enrichment based on its domestic requirements. Big statement coming out of the foreign ministry. Pramit Pal Chaudhary, do you believe this is an indication that Iran is open to negotiations even on this contentious issue?
Yes, I mean what they're saying is that the right to enrichment is not under negotiations, which, to be fair, the Americans kind of have given up on. The level of enrichment, yes, in other words, what percentage of uranium 238 versus 235. That is something anyway, and the previous Iran nuclear negotiations, including the JCPOA, which Trump himself repudiated, that was already part of that understanding. And then the only other issue was how long does you freeze the enrichment altogether? So in many ways, we're heading down exactly the same path, I would argue, that we have seen in previous US/Western negotiations with Iran. And Iran is basically looking at, in my view, and saying that we're conceding almost nothing that we haven't already been prepared to concede before. But the fundamental issue, which is that we will have the right to maintain a nuclear program and enrich uranium of some variety at some point or another, is retained by Iran.
All right. Further breaking news now that we're also tracking for our viewers. UAE state media has reported that senior Emirati and Iranian officials have held a call to discuss de-escalation in the region. This is the first high-level call since the war started at the end of February. According to a statement, UAE Vice President and Deputy Premier Sheikh Mansour bin Zayed Al Nahyan held a phone call with Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, Speaker of Parliament of the Islamic Republic of Iran, during which they discussed regional developments and ways to de-escalate tensions in the region. So big statement coming in. This is the first call after the conflict started. Do you believe this is a positive sign, Major General Dwivedi?
Absolutely, Uday, because what we can make out is the environment is slowly shaping for stability, de-escalation, dialogue. Now that's where I think currently the way the geopolitics is moving. And you know, UAE was the hardest hit during these strikes by Iranians. They hit most of their commercial centers. But then I think two things are happening. One is within the Gulf countries and Iran, how they are actually shaping up the possibly next dialogue. And secondly, Pakistan still maintains this mediation position because, as I said, that Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is already in Saudi Arabia, he's visiting UAE, he's also visiting Turkey. So therefore, two things are very evident. Firstly, I think both sides want to go ahead with dialogue, and the Gulf countries are also very keen that there is a stability, de-escalation, because they are the hardest hit. But today, I'll leave with one important point, that geopolitics of West Asia is going to change dramatically, and the Gulf countries are now looking to revisit the whole security architecture, because what has happened during the last about 40 days, they are quite, I think, on the very shaky wicket, that America has not lived up to the expectation. And this is where the Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, you know, their mutual pact is there. Possibly some more may join this tent. Now that is what will be of concern to, especially to India. But we have to again wait and watch. But the signs on the horizon are very clear that the environment are gradually moving toward peace process and possibly the second round.